Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. A lot of people ask me if C5s are reliable and if you can actually use them as your daily driver. Now, anybody can give you a generic opinion to answer either one of those questions, but you deserve better than that. I have owned this C5 for over 8 years, and during that time I've put on just under 30,000 miles. During most of those years, I've been pretty engaged in the C5 community as well. I'm going to walk through every issue I've had with my C5 and just about every dollar I've spent so that you can have one gearhead's actual first-hand account of just how reliable a C5 Corvette can be and if it's actually suitable as a daily driver. We're going to talk about all of those things and a whole lot more next.
Toys for Life.
I purchased my 2003 C5 Corvette back in May of 2013. It was completely stock with the exception of a Borla catback exhaust, and it had 68,000 miles on the clock. Everything was in excellent working condition, and the owner even threw in the original stock catback exhaust, which, as you'll find out in a moment, turned out to be a good thing. The very first thing that I did was to put in some fresh Mobil 1 5W30 and a good quality Wix oil filter. While I was under the hood, I also went with a new air cleaner. Total investment, $30 for the oil and filter, $15 for the air cleaner. Then, after about 3 weeks of ownership, I hopped in the C5 to go for a spin, and I got the dreaded column lock, pull key, wait 10-second message. Try as I might, and I tried for about an hour, I couldn't get the C5 to go very far. So I hopped on the internet and I quickly found all of the answers to my questions. Number one, the column lock issue is widespread and GM even issued, I believe, 4 recalls to try to take care of the problem. Number two, make sure you've got a good battery, it's charged, your cable terminals are clean and everything is tight. Number three, if that doesn't fix the issue, you're basically not going to go anywhere. Number four, order yourself an LMC5 from Compliance Parts and install it as soon as possible for your best long-term solution. A couple days later, my LMC5 arrived and I installed it in about an hour, and 8 years later, I have not been stranded since. As far as I know, every C5 Corvette sold in the United States, with the exception of the 01 through 04 C5s that were equipped with automatic transmissions, are susceptible to this problem. So if you are or will be picking up a new C5 at some point in the future, and it's not an 01 through 04 automatic, I would strongly suggest checking underneath the passenger footwell area where there's a fuse box to see if it's already got an LMC5 installed. If it doesn't, you're gonna wanna splurge on this $40 part and get it installed, or you'll find out you need one probably at the least opportune time. So if my math is correct, my whopping total for 2013 was $85. 2014 started out with another oil and filter change, but I also replaced the transmission fluid, the manual transmission fluid, with DAMPNER. I replaced the spark plugs, and I replaced the clutch fluid reservoir about 4 times over 4 days using the Ranger method. A little bit later in the year, my dash lights came on, and when I translated the codes, they indicated that my EBCM, or electronic brake control module, that's the system that controls the anti-lock brakes, the active handling, competitive drive mode, that sort of thing, needed some servicing. Luckily, actually by design, I've got an 01 through 04 C5 Corvette that has a much more serviceable and available EBCM than the 97 to 2000 models. Much more info on that. I'll put a link in your upper right hand corner in my C5 buyer's guide that talks all about that issue. Anyhow, I was able to find a nice thread on Corvette Forum that talks about exactly what you need to do for certain issues with the EBCM 01 through 04 models and how to fix them. And I was able to fix my own by removing it, opening it up, and soldering it with about $2 worth of solder. I'll be sure to include a link in the description below to that article. If I didn't have the ability to remove the EBCM and solder it, and I took it to a local trusted mechanic, I probably could have got out of there for somewhere around $300. Issue-wise, the rest of 2014 was relatively uneventful, and I got out of the rest of the year with a grand total of about $100 for parts. 2015 started off with another oil change, and then the C5's battery died of natural causes and old age. This is when I learned the importance of absorbed glass matte batteries, or AGM for short, and why it's pretty critical, in my opinion, that you put an AGM battery in your Corvette versus your typical flooded lead acid battery. You may not be aware of this, but the C5's computer and wiring harness are essentially directly below the battery. So if at any time during its life it leaks acid out, it's going to drip onto the computer and wiring harness, and this can and does sometimes cause catastrophic issues. Other than the battery issue, the only other thing I really did in 2015 was to remove that older style Borla catback exhaust that it came with. I just couldn't put up with the 5th and 6th gear drone. It drove me nuts. So I sold it quickly on Craigslist for $400 and reinstalled the factory catback. A couple years later, I did do the exhaust mod bypass to make it a little bit louder while still maintaining zero drone. 2016 had zero issues, so I got out of the 2-year period for $220 total. 2017 required a new wheel bearing to the tune of $125. The job itself was not that difficult. The hardest part was diagnosing and figuring out exactly which wheel bearing was making the noise. I also needed a new set of rear tires to the tune of $350. They just wore out due to normal wear and tear and a few dozen burnouts. Lastly, of course, we did an oil change, so the grand total for 2017 was $505. 2018's only requirement was an oil change, but that having been said, I decided that since I was planning on keeping the C5 for another 5 years, I was going to up the horsepower by a couple hundred and decided to go with the Supercharger Kit from A&A. Obviously, the Supercharger Kit is not a required expense. It's kind of like elective surgery, so I won't be including it in the yearly expense for the C5. As many of you know, I installed and tuned the Supercharger Kit on my C5, and on my channel you can find a whole wide variety of everything having to do with installing, tuning, and maintaining a supercharged C5. So the total required maintenance expense for 2018 was $30. In 2019, I upgraded the shocks on the C5 to C6 Z06 shocks. I did that for a little extra performance and firmness at the expense of a little bit of comfort. The shocks that I replaced were in perfect working condition, so I'm not going to include the cost of the shocks in the 2019 total. 2020 was problem-free, so my grand total for 2019 and 2020 was $60. So the million-dollar question, are C5 Corvettes reliable? Now keep in mind, when I bought this car in 2013, it was already a decade old. And keep in mind, any car is really made up of hundreds of parts, most of which will eventually fail. So with all of those things in mind, in my opinion, I would say the C5 Corvette is pretty reliable. Granted, it's probably not as reliable as a Honda Civic, but I'd be willing to bet it's probably much more reliable than a Lamborghini. The second question was, can a person realistically daily drive their C5 Corvette? I would say yes, but in any part of the country where you get snow and ice, I would absolutely put it away. These things are pretty much helpless when you've got snow and ice on the ground. Also, in my humble opinion, driving a C5 Corvette in the snow and ice is just the wrong thing to do. One last thing, guys. According to my YouTube analytics, 90% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you benefited from this video, I'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. For those that are subscribed, thank you very much. And for everybody, as always, thanks for watching.